Welcome to Two Bitches and a Broom podcast. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode as we dive into the topic of nurturing your inner child along your path. Yeah, we've talked about that. We've talked about that. We've touched on that, I should say, when we go into like shadow work and the healing process and things like that. But nurturing your inner child, I feel like that is something that a lot of individuals are now starting to explore and go through. So I feel like it's a great thing to talk about.
I agree.
Yeah. And let's start with if you want to touch on how inner child relates to the shadow work in the healing process.
Sure. Um, so first let me describe, what the inner child is, right?
Mhm.
So when I'm referring to the inner child, I'm referring to the part of your subconscious that retains like the childlike qualities of wonder, creativity, sensitivity that you experienced in your formative years and in the early years of your life. So when we are talking about nurturing that inner child, it's learning to reconnect with that part of yourself. Um, it can bring a lot of healing, a lot of joy, a deeper sense of awareness. When we're talking about combining that in shadow work, imagine what can happen if you can heal the wounds of the inner child, right? Again, if you
Mhm.
heal those wounds of the inner child, the you here right now is going to see things so much differently, right? Because regardless of what your response is today, it is because of what happened yesterday. That's just
Right.
how our brain works. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's my 2 cents. I
Yeah.
I explained that well.
No, that was great. I think it is definitely something that is a part of the alignment process, whether you are going through it for development, practitioner development, or you just want to align with your own higher self and be more centered and at peace. Um, and it does, I do agree, absolutely agree. And it does shift when you allow yourself to nurture your inner child and even past versions of self and experiences. It does change your perspective from where you are at the moment and then looking out as you go, as you face, the rest of your path and whatever you have along, whatever your contract entails.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that we can incorporate like some things while we're talking that they can actively do
Hmm.
to achieve reconnecting with their inner child.
Right.
Does that
Yep.
sound good to you?
Sounds great. Um,
So what would be your first thing?
so with inner child and nurturing that inner child, I always like to go to even just exploring, allowing yourself to explore the things that you like to do when you were younger. Because as we all know, we probably all experience, as you grow, you're told what not to do, you're told how to act, how to be,
Right.
and that's kind of where that, at least in my perspective, that fun and that excitement and that childlike energy kind of starts to get watered down by society,
Mhm.
Um, so exploring things that you like to do when you're younger, things that interest you, and allowing yourself the time to do those things, whether it be like running around the park, an open field, doing something, drawing, painting, watercolor. And there's so many, especially now, there's so many, I don't know about in your area, but in mine, there's so many different places you can go to do things like ceramic, like, a pottery class,
Mhm.
ceramics or paint or stuff like that. So that would be my one first tip to start out. Just let yourself play.
Yes. Yes,
Hmm.
I agree. That's a great one, actually. Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
um
Hmm.
for me, I think it would be to because I'm the nerd, right? So to you can see the difference in our responses right here, right? The first place my brain goes is to acknowledge and listen to the inner child.
Hmm.
Um, and my tip here is treat yourself as you would a child. Literally, treat yourself as you would.
Yep.
So if you're driving and you're like, man, I really want an ice cream cone, and you're like, no, you shouldn't have the calories, would you literally look at your kid and go, no, you can't have the calories, you're going to be a fat cow? No, you would never do that.
Right.
You would never do
Right.
that. Um, and I think it's in what the things that we deny ourselves that the inner child feels the most neglected and unheard, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
So really paying attention to that, get yourself a journal, a really cutesy one. Get yourself a journal. Write down all the emotions, all the thoughts, anything that you experience every single day. Pay attention to those feelings, even memories that may surface. And
Hmm.
like Krys said, you can incorporate that by going, okay, what would make me happy today? What did I love to do as a child? Write it in your journal. And you can
Hmm.
incorporate both of those things in there. Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, like, just think about how many times or how when this has ever happened to, you if you're listening or watching this, of when you have that moment in your life where you go do something right and you think, or you say out loud, God, I haven't done that since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Or, God, I haven't done, well, then I feel like that is a great way to connect yourself back into that inner child of yourself. And I am totally on board with Charlie's tip too, because that's my step two. I'm like, let's have a little bit of fun first and let's get to the
Yeah.
seriousness. But it truly is, when I work with students and clients, we do journeys to connect with your inner child and acknowledge um, and hold that space for whatever it is. So if it is, and I feel like this is also a way of combining both the things that we said in meditation or in a journey, you're going to connect with your inner child in your special place. And whatever age shows up for you at the time, whatever inner child version of you shows up, you hold that space for whatever it is that they need. You're
Yeah.
acknowledging, you're sharing that space, whether it's, and I've heard all kinds of experiences from, they just wanted me to braid their hair was one of them.
Mhm.
Run around some tree, and just play, or just listen.
Yeah.
Like Charlie said, just listen. And they wanted to that part of yourself just wanted to express that emotion they've been holding in. Because again, parents, family, society, school, all of the above just start to water down that inner child experience and connection, and we forget how to play, and we forget to remember that life is not that serious.
Yes.
We'll be right back after this short break.
In the hustle and bustle of modern life, finding time for spiritual growth can be challenging. But what if there was a way to reconnect with your inner self, to find peace and clarity amidst the chaos? Introducing the Shamanic Path, your guide to spiritual development and inner peace. At the Shamanic Path, we offer a range of online courses designed to nurture your spirit and elevate your consciousness. For those just beginning their spiritual quest, to the advanced practitioners looking to expand, we are here to support you on your journey every step of the way. Discover the power of your intuition, the beauty that comes with connecting, and the joy of self-discovery. Embrace the journey to a more enlightened, balanced, and fulfilled life. Take that first step today. Visit theshamanicpaths.com and begin your journey.
I agree.
None of us are making it out of here alive.
I agree.
You know,
I
it's
agree
not that serious.
completely.
Yeah.
I think to kind of like piggyback on that, you know, as you're searching for something that's creative and enjoyable to you. And maybe this is a third tip altogether, but it is seek something out that you have no goal. Okay.
That's a good point.
Adults, we have
Yeah.
so many goals and pressures, you know, and
Mhm.
we judge ourselves.
Right.
Did we achieve fill in the blank, right? So whatever
Right.
you're
Did you
choosing,
justify your time?
yes.
Oh God, yeah.
So
Mhm.
whatever you're choosing, you know, I don't know, maybe a musical instrument. Maybe it's building Legos. You know what I mean? Maybe it's coloring in a coloring book. Do it without any judgment that there is no, I want it to look like this, or I want it to be like that, or I need to build the Lego set until it becomes fill in the blank. Do it without the pressure. Do it simply for fun,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
If you're coloring in the coloring book and you're like, okay, I've had my fill and it's 1/4 of the way done, that's okay. No goal, no goal. So
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to kind of add on to that. I just think we have so many restrictions we put on ourselves as human beings in general.
Mhm.
I see it even with my grandchildren, you know, there's like, oh, my goal is I must do, and it's like, you must just breathe and enjoy life, you know, just,
Seriously, just enjoy it. I mean, I had this thought the other day too. This is going to show how much the kind of nerd that I am, because had this thought also. God, when's the last time that I went to the public library and just browsed?
yeah,
Just, you know, yeah, I'm nerdy. I'm a book nerd, but just browse for no reason, just
yeah,
to pick up any book that you see, you know. So, and then I also, as I'm continuing on this train of thought, is what are things that when you were younger that you never got a chance to really do, but you thought were interesting or looked interesting or looked exciting or anything like that? And I feel like, you know, again, even with the goals and the pressure that we put on ourselves, I also think we hesitate because we think, oh God, are we going to look stupid?
yeah,
What are people going to think? You
yeah,
know, and yeah, that's another part of that. I think that goes kind of in line too with the goal point is we're so worried about how we're perceived from the outside. We
absolutely.
stop ourselves,
Yep,
you know.
I
Yeah,
agree.
we need to cut that shit out.
I also think, and this kind of goes in with your journal, again, but there is a correlation between writing things down and your brain remembering them and kind of locking on to that information when you write it down and accepting it. That's why journaling is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do affirmations. And while
Oh
you're
yeah.
those affirmations, you can start to experience self-compassion, you know? So speak kindly to yourself, even in your head, again, as you would a
Mm-hmm.
young child. You can
Right.
make a list of affirmations that are very easy for you to remember, like, I'm worthy of love and happiness. Or it's okay to make mistakes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine yourself consoling a young child. How would you talk to that young child?
Right.
So
Yeah.
it it's really there, I promise you, there is a connection, a neurological connection to you writing it down and your brain accepting the information as truth. And then you can feel that develop within yourself. That belief
Mm-hmm.
is what I'm referring to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like to do when I work on something, and this is just my personal way, I because I my mentality is like if we're gonna do it, we're gonna fucking do it all the way.
Yeah.
But I like to take that, like the affirmations or a mantra or statement or something that you are working to embed into your belief system, and even put it, what's the one thing that we are all, majority of us, 99.9% of us always have on us, our phones.
Mhm.
So take that and make it a what's it called? A wallpaper on your phone.
Yeah.
So writing it in your journal, creating, you can write it and take a screenshot, take a picture of it and make it a thing, or you can put it in your notes. But I think that's a great idea if you want to try that out and see. You're always going to be looking. How many times a day do we look at our phones? How many times a day are we always technology? So
Absolutely.
if you're anything like me and you're like, we're in it, we're going to go all the way in, immerse yourself in that, writing it down, making it your screenshot. It's a constant reminder because uh, it takes time for it to fold itself into your belief system. Because I think too, we have expectation. So just because we get it once or we understand it, we expect human nature. Oh, I got it. Perfection from now on. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's not how that works.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
keep that in mind. It's
Yeah.
not, it is something that it's a work in progress. We are always getting pretty good, a little bit more every day.
I also think it's really important that you have a space in your home that is your space. That is literally your go-to space. It should have like your most comfortable blanket, your favorite colors, things that are really tactile and soft, things that make you feel
Mm-hmm.
comforted when you're there. Maybe have a smelling candle that you really enjoy, but whatever it is, have that space set up so when you can go to that space, whenever you need to feel secure and connect
Mm-hmm.
with that inner child.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, because I raised a boatload of kids in a small home. Before this home was built, I raised 5 kids and 950 square feet. That's small. That's small
Yeah.
for the amount of people. And every square inch was valuable, every square inch. But I managed to make this one area of my house like that was my chair. Nobody got to be in that chair. That was mom's chair. It was mom's
Mm-hmm.
bookshelf. That was mom's, you know what I mean? That was mine.
Yeah.
You can do it. You can do it. I don't care if you have a walk-in closet,
Oh,
clear it
absolutely.
out,
Yeah.
put your stuff somewhere else, or make an area of that space where you can be comfortable. I've seen people
Mm-hmm.
do it. I know I have a friend who's done it.
Yeah.
So it's manageable. And it's important that you have that space that will comfort you, you know, that you're
Mm-hmm.
providing. That's the whole point. That you are providing the comfort for yourself and you're not looking externally for someone else to comfort you, that you are providing it for yourself. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah. I think that's a great point. And I do feel, because I've heard this
Mhm.
a time or two from individuals when we talk about creating your sacred space.
Yeah.
I have nowhere to put it.
Mhm.
I can't. I have too much stuff. Then move something out.
Shelf.
You have to make it happen
Yeah.
for yourself. And even if you have like Charlie's experience, I kind of did the same thing. I have one little corner
Mhm.
in the room, had a little table good enough for maybe like a coffee cup.
Sure.
And that was my space,
Mhm.
right? It's my little corner of the house. I've had tons of clients and students who actually makes walk-in closets a great one. They just rearrange the closet and make a corner for themselves, and then that's it. That's their space in their closet.
Yep.
Again, ex like the expectation that we put on ourselves and how we think it should look should not stop you from making it. You don't have to go out and buy anything. You don't have to spend money. You can just literally take something that you like and are attached to already in your home
Mhm.
and put it in your space. I think
That's
that's a
exactly. What
yeah.
I did is I had a sideboard and I had like on top of it pictures of all my kids and little things up there. And
Hmm.
I think they were candles. I had candles and pictures of my kids up there. And that was my altar. I took everything off,
Yeah.
I put the stuff in different areas, and that became my altar. And I had 5 kids. And I promise you, my youngest two, they challenged my entire existence as they were growing up. So if I can do it and not have them touch anything, I promise you can.
Hmm.
I promise you
Oh
can.
yeah.
I opened space in my living room and I used that. That was my very first altar. You know what I mean? You can do it. You really, really can. That doesn't work. Get a bookshelf. You're afraid of them touching things. What do you do with your things you don't want them to touch? Put them up higher. Find something higher. You know,
Right, right.
you can
Yeah.
make it work if you want it. If you really want it, you'll make it work. I promise. Your
Hmm.
brain is magnificent. It will find a way, a solution to make it work.
Right. Our brains are solution based
Yeah, they
in
are.
its programming. And I feel like this goes kind of in line with just creating your own practice to begin with. It's ideally so many people want it and so many people ask about it. But then when it comes time to actually like put in the effort, uh, there's the excuses start coming. And I feel like this is kind of the same thing where, you know, we learn through nurturing your inner child and having this space, like Charlie said, you're learning to count on yourself because you're creating that for yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you. And I feel like that's also just the discipline and let's say, dedication to yourself that you're going to do, especially like women, moms, with whether you have a busy career or you have a family, and nowadays family and a career,
Mhm.
and you put yourself last. But I get it. I too have a farm load of children.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and we make it work. You figure it out, you make it work. Whether even if you're a guy, you're single, you're married, you have kids too, whatever, no discrimination here. Anybody, you can take, I promise you, I've done it so many times with people. You can list out your entire day and figure out where to insert it, or, you know, carving out 15 minutes in the morning before, or this and that, to make time to do it.
Yeah.
You can, it's not impossible.
No, it's, it's
It's
not.
the dedication to yourself. It's how you, and I also take it as, and I pose this to people too, thinking about it this way. Um, you're showing yourself respect. You're giving yourself that respect to hold that space. It's not a task.
Exactly. And for everybody questioning, because again, it's this valuable space in our house. Every
Mm-hmm.
square foot has value, right? How much value do you put on yourself? If you
Yeah.
can make room for your kids' toys, if you can make room for your husband's hobby, if you can make room for
Mm-hmm.
that 60-inch square TV,
Right.
make room for yourself. Aren't you worthy enough? Aren't you valuable enough to make a little space for you?
Yeah,
In
exactly.
in your life, make room for you. Make
Mm-hmm.
room for you.
Oh yeah.
So,
But it's interesting too, and we touch on that. That's also a great point. If what Charlie just said uh pings something within yourself, that's a great starting point when working with your inner child and nurturing your inner child. you know. So if you're looking for somewhere to get started, and what Charlie said just caused some kind of response,
yeah,
start there.
yeah. My next suggestion is not classical. Probably nobody would think about this but me. So I I do not do my hair, do my makeup, put clothes on for other people. I do it for me. I like it, feels good. And it is so important that the clothes that you put on your body make you feel good. I know I'm
Mm-hmm.
a Taurus Sag, so I'm a little partial, but go through your closet. What made me think of this is my girlfriend who had made part of her little closet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, technically it's a walk-in, but it's literally like a small little cube. It's not that big.
Yeah.
And she was like, this is where I want to put it away from everybody, but I have her clothes here. And then she started looking at her clothes and she's like, I don't wear half this shit, you know?
Right.
And to be honest with you, the most empowering thing you can do is get rid of anything that does not make you feel great. Does not make you feel great. When you were a kid, your mom definitely probably bought your clothes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there was those go-to items, right? Think about when you were a kid, there was those go-to items. You love those jeans. You love that dress. You love this. You love that. I think that we have become accustomed to buying clothes that are in style, and then we're like, oh, I don't like the way the texture feels, or it's too much to wash, or whatever. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Start
Mm-hmm.
getting rid of the things that don't make you feel good.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Delete it
Right.
from your life. You know, um, savor what you have and enjoy it. You know, anything that is provoking that sense of nostalgia or joy is great. If you got a t-shirt in there and you're like, man, I've had that since I was 16 years old. Cool, keep it if it makes you happy. Even if it doesn't fit, if you look at that and you're like, man, I love that. I can remember, cool, keep it. That's great. That's great. But if you have stuff in there that every time you put it on, you feel like shit and you're judging your body and you're like, oh, I don't feel good. Oh, I don't like the way this looks, or oh, this makes me feel self-conscious or whatever, toss it. If your clothing is not evoking that you are amazing, toss it. I know it's very unconventional to say this, Krys. I'm sure your brain is going 100 miles an hour.
No. I am of the breed of purging constantly of things. So yeah, I totally get it. But it is something that I find a lot of people do struggle with, keeping all of these things. And that's the one thing that I appreciate is I feel like we're kind of shifting out of, at least somewhat.
Yeah.
Is we went into, if you look at just kind of like the trends, right? We went into this, and I'm fully aware, I'm just going to say this as a basic black ensemble, person. I've been like this my whole life. I love it. I feel great in it. This is not that kind of thing, I promise you. But you look at the trend and it turned into this bland, neutral, everything has just this basic lack of color, lack of character, lack of identity kind of thing. And I love seeing now where people are starting to bring back character, personality, things that make happy, things that bring joy. And I take the closet and your clothes and things like that too, and I even push it out into like my office, right? So in my office, some people are surprised when you come inside. I have like a little pop figurine, and then I have a Bigfoot doing meditation just to sit there.
Yeah.
But you can take, whether you work you have your own office or a cubicle or something, just like a little knickknack. And the reason that I have it is because it's fun to look at, and it's a reminder it's not that serious.
Yeah.
And you come in and it is, I have all of my healing stuff in my work table and all of the things for the work that I do. But these two little pieces don't really fit, but on purpose. So think about that too. Start with your closet and expand out. And what's a little knickknack you can keep at your desk, in your car? That just is that reminder. Again, if I'm going to go for it, I'm going to go all in for it.
Yeah.
And because I want this shit to seep in. I want the value, the confidence, and I want to imbibe that, and I want to project that out naturally.
Yes.
So, another little tidbit for you. You can have a portable little piece of joy to take with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one would be reconnecting with nature. But I'm gonna explain to you why that, because you're like, obviously a shaman would say that, but no, it's more
right.
Right. So it can be just simply sitting under a tree and cloud watching, right? Seeing leaves, flying a kite. All of those experiences can evoke the sense of wonder and exploration. And that's typically what children feel when they are in nature. So again, you're just reconnecting with that childhood self. Me personally, I like to push it even farther and go, what were the things that I wanted to do when I was a kid and I wasn't allowed to do them? Okay. I have every person write down those things and then pick one. What do you want to do? Do one of them. I don't care how ridiculous.
Right.
Was it writing? street. I remember specifically a client saying that. And I'm like, ride your bike in the street, see how it feels. See how it
Mm-hmm.
feels. Ride your bike in the street. To do that thing that you were denied that you wanted to do so bad. You're an adult now. You know how to watch cars, you know? You'll be okay. But
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things that we keep pushing under the rug and keep pushing under the rug, and the inner child is like, oh my God, do you know how long I've been waiting for you to ride the bike in the fucking street? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and you never have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's a great point. Yeah.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sounded sarcastic. I didn't mean it like
No.
that. It is. No.
No, you're not at all. I get it. But I mean, it is, you're treating yourself, uh, the way that you would have wanted to be treated or handled uh, when you were younger. And I like that, there's some videos that were going around that said, now that I have adult money,
Yeah.
I always have these things, and um I look at my own kids as an example for things that they're into, letting them be their own individuals.
Right.
And I mean, we were just talking about this.
Yeah.
My I told my 17-year-old, "Are you sure you're 17?" Because it's her thing, and it's everywhere, represented in everything. And and I think, wow, thinking back in the time that I was growing up, that wasn't really an acceptable thing. And I
Mhm.
think that's really, you can see, I feel like you can see the difference in just a surety and confidence within the individuals when they are allowed to have that space to explore. Um, she's my daughter, so sometimes I'm like, I love you, but a little too much. But I mean, I do agree with that. Doing something that you've always wanted to do that you never got the chance to do, or you were told no,
Mhm.
that you couldn't, give yourself the time to do it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I also think in your journal, I keep circling back to journal. Do you notice? But in your journal, you should write down, like, every day, ask yourself, what was the biggest emotion of the day? The most apparent emotion of the day? Was it happy, sad, angry, frustrated, whatever it may be? Write it down. And then,
Mm-hmm.
why was I feeling that way? Like, go through the process. Literally, what angered you? What made you happy? What made you feel joyful? Whatever it may be, write it down. You don't have to go too deep into it, but just
Yeah.
writing it down. Because what you're doing is you are making the subconscious the problem. And the
Mm-hmm.
subconscious rise to the conscious level. And pretty soon you're going to be like, huh, yeah, I know why that upset me, angered me, otherwise known as triggered me.
Yeah.
And pretty soon you'll be able to have a quicker and quicker response to let that go and not have
Mm-hmm.
it as it'll be more like a moment in the day than the most apparent emotion of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's so much power in acknowledgement that gets bypassed, even just taking your journal exercise, and you're acknowledging that this is the emotion, this is how I felt, and getting to the source of it, with just, even if you stay on surface level and you just don't go super deep in it, you're still acknowledging the existence there. And after all, I feel like, your inner child, nurturing that inner child, you're just acknowledging the existence of your inner child and the experience that you had, reconnecting in a different way. Yeah, it is amazing what it does to how you handle current life and what comes along your way in the future. I
Absolutely.
feel like that's something that you know, I've heard somebody say before, I don't like to live in the past. Funny because the past keeps showing up every day for you. And
Yeah.
it's not, are you not living in the past, or are you just running from yourself and not wanting to face that and acknowledge, simply just acknowledge.
And that's an important point. Earlier in this episode, you had said, I had made the comment that, our brains are miraculous, and you said it's always trying to problem solve. And the way that our brain is trying to problem solve is it's taking all the information from the entirety of our life and it's predicting the possible outcome of what will happen. So if
Mm-hmm.
all the stuff from the past is not so good, it's going to project not so good outcomes, regardless of how safe and secure you are right here, right now.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it's important that you revisit that particular emotion that was happening there, so you can kind of merge where you are at now. I'm safe, I'm secure, everything's fine, I'm in control, nobody can boss me around, nobody can make me do a damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you kind of merge those two together and you go, yeah, I was denied X, Y, and Z, or I wasn't allowed to feel X, Y, and Z, but now I am, you can merge those together, and that's called healing. And your
Mm-hmm.
brain will then predict completely different outcomes. And
Yes.
that's the whole point of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point of it.
Oh yeah.
If at any point in time, you feel like it becomes overwhelming, or you feel like you need support, and your inner circle is not somebody who you want to share what you're experiencing, consider therapy, counseling, explore mental health professionals that can guide you through discussions that can help you to understand and nurture that part of yourself. Don't be afraid to reach out. There's tons of online communities that have people that are exactly in the exact same position as you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not alone. You're never alone when you are experiencing shadow work. There's just so many people that are trying to reconnect to their younger self and heal wounds. So sorry, I just had to throw that in
Oh
there.
yeah. No, that's a good point. There's resources.
Yeah.
There's always a resource,
Yeah.
so keep that in mind, because it is not, and I tell people this, you're feeling these things, not meant to live in it, but acknowledge it because you're moving through it. You're like what Charlie was explaining, when you're pulling that past into your current, you're safe, you're secure. And we don't want you to fall into that emotional trigger of that experience and get stuck in that part, because that's not what that's about. You're just moving through that part of your life
Yeah.
and incorporating it into your current reality of, you are an adult now, you are safe, you are secure, you got adult money. you,
Yeah, big girl money. Yeah.
you got big girl money,
That's what I
you
tell them.
got big boy money. And so, you can treat yourself every once in a while. And I think, especially right now, with almost everybody on their own healing journey, and the world is shifting, and there's so much to worry about, that I think now more than ever, if every human can just make time to nurture your inner child and go have some fun, go do some acknowledgement, do some journaling, go have some fun. Hell, go to a smash room if you have to and just let some steam off. Man,
Yeah.
what effect that would have on the conscious vibration, would be amazing.
You know, I have a quote that's on my wall and it says, I wrote this a long time ago. But it's actually something my mentor and I had discussed many times in many different ways. And it was just this wonderful reminder every day that I woke up, you know, heal the wounds of your ancestors so the next generation can be free. So all the stuff that has been passed down to you
Mm-hmm.
that has now become a childhood wound is simply something that was handed down to them.
Mm-hmm.
You have the golden opportunity to say, yeah, I'm not going to push it off on the next generation to heal it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take charge because
Mm-hmm.
they deserve better. They deserve,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh yeah. And think about how it made you, how it went over for you and how it made you feel.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure I'd be hard pressed to say that you would think about that for yourself and then say, yeah, I'll pass that along.
yeah.
I
I just
yeah.
hear a lot of parents over the years. I've heard, I would die for my child. I would die for my child. I would die. My question is, yes, but are you willing to live for them? Are you willing to live for them? Because you doing the work is living,
Mm-hmm.
not existing.
Mm-hmm.
You're living. You're not in the passenger seat. You're driving it. It's not, life's not happening to you, you know? So I just felt like that
Yeah.
deserved a little,
Yes.
little
But
acknowledgement.
it's a good reminder, and if it helps anyone kind of gain some motivation to keep pushing forward, because again, it can be challenging. It can be a rough ride nurturing your inner child and acknowledging those things. Even if you were that kind of person that I don't like to live in the past and it's the past, move forward, but it still shows up in your day-to-day life. If it is not addressed and released and healed, it's still going to show up. So your past is still your day-to-day life.
Mhm.
And I think that's a great little tidbit to leave and have as motivation for individuals if you're listening to this to keep going. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. It
There
is
is,
there is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
there
And
is.
it's your value, it's your worth, it's your confidence, it's your own divine light that just keeps getting brighter and brighter. Your vibration, your frequency just keeps getting greater and greater.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
um, I also think practicing gratitude, I can't ever get away from that, right?
Yes.
So
Can never
in
go
your
wrong.
journal, yeah,
Yeah.
in your journal, right?
We're gonna name this in your journal.
Yeah, I know, right? You can write down like things you're grateful for, especially those things that brought you joy as a kid. It can be like
Mhm.
the smell of fresh cut grass. It can be, your favorite ice cream. It could be your favorite tune, or your
Mhm.
favorite superhero. I don't care. Write things
Right, right.
that are bringing you joy. Like, man, I'm so lucky I have a job so I can go to the movies and watch this new Marvel, you know?
Mhm.
Or man, I'm so lucky that uh my husband got a zero turn and I can smell those grass. I don't know. I mean, like whatever it may
Right.
be, find the gratitude in it that you have the freedom and the ability to experience those things. So
Yes.
I mean, nurturing your inner child, it's a journey of self-compassion. It's a journey of rediscovery. By
Mhm.
integrating the practices that we've discussed today into your daily life, you can actually foster a deeper connection with yourself. You can heal those past wounds. You can dare I say, reignite the joy and creativity that you have within you right now that you don't even realize, or maybe you just forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that the goal is to embrace that inner child with love, patience, and playfulness. You know, even
Yeah.
if it is Bigfoot meditating. You know?
Yep. So I take this and I challenge all of you to make it a point through the week, whenever you listen to this, doesn't matter. There's no time difference in whether you listen to this fresh or you find this at whatever phase in your life. You find it when you find it.
Yeah.
And, you know, take that next 5, 7 days ahead of you from whenever you're listening to this and make it a point to implement the practices that we've talked about. Creating your own sacred space, even if it's just a corner, even if it's just a shelf on the wall that you put a couple of things on that you already have around your house that means something to you. Um, Take time to assess where you are before you start, how you feel, do the whole where you are in your life, how you're feeling, what you're thinking, all of these things, and then implement these practices. And then at the end of that week, do another self-assessment and see what the difference is in between the two and how your perception has shifted through the course of that week. Because I promise you, if you do the work, it's going to shift.
Yeah.
New awarenesses are going to come. If spirit, and I always say this to people, spirit will always show up.
Yeah.
And will always be right there without fail. So
I agree.
yeah. Any final words or tips or tidbits? Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us for this week's episode. We appreciate your presence, listening to us. We stayed pretty good on task today.
Amazing.
We did pretty good, but if you resonate with this or you know somebody who will, we always appreciate the energetic exchange of liking, sharing, and rating, and that's a thing on on social media and all of that stuff.
Rating is a
Oh
thing.
yeah, rating those things. You know, we appreciate a review. I'm learning. So, you know, and leave us your comments, leave us your experiences with your nurturing your inner child or something that you like to do or wanted to do when you were a kid that you never got a chance to. Maybe you're going to inspire somebody else who comes across this episode too to do something or you give some good ideas. It's all about, you know, sharing the love, sharing the insight. So other than that, yeah, I guess we'll wrap it up.
Until next time. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.